Welcome back to J48 Ministries with Jonathan Pike, Will Bailey, Amy Pike, and Crystal Bailey. And we'll be doing biblical connections, characters.
Thank you, Will, Amy, Crystal. Good to have y'all.
Good to be here.
All right. All right. So I talked to each one of you about pick somebody in the Bible that you can relate to. And now here is the thing. There are certain things about many characters throughout the Bible that we can relate to. But at this particular season of your life, I wanted you to pick somebody that you just felt like you could relate to the most right now. Now, like I said, we have Hebrews 11, what we call the Hall of Faith. But in this moment right now, who did you choose and why? And we all decided before, Amy, you was going to lead us off, so the floor is yours.
Well, I immediately, you start thinking about some of the women in the Bible, and I couldn't really find one that there's a lot that you really like the story, but when you told us to find somebody that we relate to or that we parallel with, I really couldn't find any of those women that fit. And so as I get to looking, Habakkuk stood out to me, and it's just, little bitty Bible chapter, sorry, not Bible. And it just, but when you look at today and everything going on, and then you look at Habakkuk, that's why I chose him. He starts out the chapter and he's questioning God. And I know a lot of times we feel guilty when we question God, or we feel like that's wrong, like you should never question God. But here is this prophet that is so close to God that he is questioning him, and he's burdened and he's overloaded with all this evil and violence and, in his mind, injustice that's going on around him. And he kind of feels like, God's being silent. And so he's reaching out to God in this kind of like distressed spirit. He's not trying to be rebellious. He's not angry or anything like that, but he's got such a close relationship with God that he's questioning, why are you being silent? What's going on? But he didn't just stop at asking questions, which to me is a huge comfort, that it is okay sometimes to ask God why or what's next. But he listened for the answer, and he waited for the answer. And when he gets the answer, well, let me not skip to that, but he actually asked God, how are you, or why are you going to use such ungodly people like the Babylonians to carry out your will? And I think about where we are as a nation, as a people right now. And I think sometimes we forget that it doesn't have to be all sunshine and roses for God to accomplish his will. And he doesn't only use godly people to accomplish his will. And we forget that. And so Habakkuk is just a great reminder that God can use anything, anybody, to accomplish his will. So Habakkuk has asked these questions, and he's waiting on the answer, and he gets it. And he doesn't just get it and continue to question. He gets it, and he rejoices in God's sovereignty and his answer, even if he didn't really fully understand it, even if he didn't fully agree with it. He had that kind of relationship and that kind of faith with the Lord that he turned it into rejoicing. And so he channeled all of these frustrations. And I think as a mom, as a pastor's wife, as a woman, it's easy to get totally overloaded with frustrations and that feeling of not being able to do something. And he channeled all those into prayers, which then led to answers, which he then turned to praise. And I just thought that, for me, especially where we are now, just really, really resonated with me, that I want to be like that. I want to question God, not out of a hard heart or anger or rebellious spirit. I want to be able to have that kind of relationship. And I want to say Habakkuk, and Jonathan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say his name actually means embraced or embracer. I want to be that embraced by God, that I know I can ask those questions, even when I'm frustrated. And but also trust him enough that even when I don't understand it, I can still rejoice in knowing that he's got it all figured out, even if I don't totally understand it. So Habakkuk was my person. That was my character.
Yeah, I like that, how you don't always get what you want, but you have such faith that God is in control, that you're at peace, that nothing, no matter what's going on around you, you're at total peace, trusting in the Lord. All right, I love that one. All right, Will, you were next. Go ahead with yours, Will.
Well, with me, I guess I kind of took a different take on how the way I guess it would be, because for me it's not a single character in the Bible. It's many. I
Right.
find myself in and kind of like when we were getting ready, we were kind of talking. I kind of feel like Jonah in a sense, where I know that God needs something or has something for me to do, but I kind of drag my feet for it, and I don't really know where or how or what should I do sometimes, and I kind of backtrack, and I literally need somebody to throw me in.
Even in when we know, we run from it sometimes.
Exactly. So, and then on another thing, I find myself, like David and against Goliath. I feel like I can attack and take on anything on certain days. Like I'm fired up. I'm so, powerful from God, not myself, but so just feel the Spirit in me that I will take on a giant. I'll take on anybody's giant. That's what I kind of feel like.
Amen.
But if I had to really break it down, and again, it's probably one of my absolute favorite books in the Bible. It's in the Old Testament. It's Job, and I just love that book. But it causes me to actually strive after something. I really want it. I really want to be like Job. I want, no matter what happens, no matter what goes on, no matter what we have to do, I want to be able to praise Him and stick close to God through it all.
Even if all your friends and family in the world's falling apart all around you.
I just know that no matter what, God is there, and He's got me, and He's going to take me through it.
He loves you. Amen. All right, Crystal, the floor is yours.
Well, I did a little combination of all. For me, I looked at just different people in the Bible. And when Amy told me, and she had talked with you about what we were doing and everything, I too looked at some of the women of the Bible, but no, it wasn't for me. But you look at different people, different mighty people in the Bible. David for his courageousness, Daniel for his faithfulness, Noah for his obedience, Ruth for her loyalty. But then I prayed about it, and I thought, all right, Jonah it is. Jonah, we all know the story. He went to Nineveh. I'm sorry, he was supposed to go to Nineveh, but instead he went to, can't say the word, Tarshish. There we go. But in Jonah 2:2, it says, Jonah prayed unto the Lord out of the fish's belly. That's a big thing for me. That even though he was thrown overboard and everything because the storms were coming, because he knew at that point, I believe that he knew at that very instant he was swallowed up that he was not where God wanted him to be. But yet he knew within his heart that he needed to pray and he needed to seek God. And then it goes on to say that the Lord spoke to the fish. And it vomited Jonah out. Wow. There was a time in my life that I felt I did what I wanted to do, and God allowed me to do or settle in my own belly of a well. And it was until I was there and prayed and found and seeked and begged and questioned. At that point, God said enough is enough. And He literally threw me back out, landed on my feet, and it is where we are today. And I feel like that was the season in our life. We went through somewhere that we clearly heard God's voice, where we were supposed to stop, leave, and do. But during that time, I was so trying harder and harder and harder to go and to just do something for him.
Mm-hmm.
But God allowed me to sit in the belly of that well and pray and seek. And we were talking about it in our Sunday school this morning. Sometimes what happens with, I know Jonathan's probably said it, I know me and Amy have said it, when you're in a test, is there anybody talking to you during that test? No. You're dependent upon what you know in your heart.
That's right.
And I believe that that's where I am in my life. That God has allowed me to be spewed out, if you may say, and land on my feet. And that's my character that I relate mostly to.
You know, I've never thought about it like this until you just mentioned that, you know, so many times we say we hit rock bottom. Noah went below sea level.
Absolutely.
Noah, or Jonah, I'm sorry, Jonah. I got Noah on my mind, but Jonah went lower than us all right there, didn't he? He went below sea level. He went to the depths of the depths right there. All right. Well, I picked Noah, and the reason is because Noah lived in a time of the world that was very wicked, the same kind of time that we live in, I believe, a very wicked time. And not that I'm comparing myself to Noah right here where it says he found grace in the eyes of the Lord, but the Lord was going to destroy the whole earth. But then Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. And then it says that Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with God. Now, here's the part that really I feel like I relate with Noah the most, is that he tells Noah, in verse 14 of Genesis chapter 6, he says, make thee an ark of gopher wood. And then he tells them how to pitch it and things to do about it. But here's my thing. Noah was not no master shipbuilder. As a matter of fact, to this point, there might have been small boats, but not no ship of this scale. Mm-hmm. And I can say that when God called me to preach, I was kind of like Noah. I was like, okay, God, you want me to do this? Kind of like, God, you want me to build this ship? How? You know what I mean? And when he calls me to preach, as a matter of fact, I did kind of pull a Jonah, and I ran from what I was supposed to do. But then when I finally surrendered and I gave my life to God, then all of a sudden it's like, all right, now you're going to preach. And like, okay, how? You're going to pastor. How? You know, what am I supposed to do? And I love, though, the faith that he had. Truth be told, he didn't have drawings to go by. He didn't have the greatest tools to use. He didn't have Home Depot and Lowe's right down the street or a lumber yard, you know. But yet, God told him to do something. And he believed in God, and he trusted God. And then here's the other thing about this. You know there had to be naysayers. Like, what in the world are you doing, Noah? Are you crazy? There ain't even a body of water around here. I mean, what are you doing? You know, the naysayers. And so many times when you're trying to serve God, when you're trying to give your life to God and to his ministry or whatever that ministry may be, you know, it could be a Samaritan's Purse type ministry. It could be a feeding the hungry, the valley, what we have here in town. It could be a whatever the case may be. Many of you have started ministries, big scale, small scale, whatever the case may be. God has called you into a ministry. And many people say, what are you trying to do? That's never going to work. You know, the naysayers. And you know he had to have naysayers that was saying, what are you doing?
For years.
For years, yeah, thank you, Will. I mean, this wasn't just a single day event. This was years of building this ark. And then...
with no rain.
And nothing, no evidence, no proof of what he's doing. But yet God told him to do it, and he did it. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like what y'all sung this morning, is that I have to have the faith that God's going to do what he said he's going to do. But I got to do what God's told me to do, and then let God handle the rest. Let God handle the naysayers. Let God handle all the other things. I've got to do what God has called me to do. But then... you'd say, well, that's an awesome story, but there's a detail right here that gets left out and gets overlooked a lot of times. When you go through the description of the ark right there, from probably verse 14 all the way, I would say probably to verse 18 right in there, he gives him a description of this ark, but there's one thing he don't do. He don't tell him to put on this ark. And do any of y'all know what I'm fixing to say?
Mm-hmm.
What?
The door. He didn't tell him how to close
No,
it. Have
no,
any
not the
hinges or
door.
anything.
Anybody else know something?
I don't hear anything about us steering.
The
Oh, yeah,
wheels,
that too.
wheels right there. Wheels.
See, I always get
Okay,
stuck on the door part.
so he tells Noah to build this massive ship, and wouldn't you think that you would need to be in control of this ship?
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of Noah, and what I love probably the most about this story. He trusted God to the point he believed in God to the point he built this massive ship, even out in the middle of dry land. He does it exactly how God tells him, but then he does not put a steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Because while he's in the storm, while he's in the raging sea,
Mm-hmm.
he still knows that God is still in control.
Yes.
You know, that's what I love the most about our God. He don't just to give you a project and then leave you alone. He's with you from start to finish of your life. He is going to be with you, helping you and guiding you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say that Noah with me.
You know, it's funny, all these people that we're talking about, and it kind of hits me because we've actually talked about this before, is, and me and you just said it, Crystal, we immediately went to some of these women in the Bible and we're like, oh, her, but I'm nowhere near that, or oh, her,
Yes.
but I'm so not there. We put these people, and Jonathan's hit on this, we kind of put them in this almost unattainable category,
Yeah.
like, oh, wow, David, or oh. But when you go back and you look at what they came through
Absolutely.
to be that person, we're all able, through Jesus, to be those kind of people. None of them started out great.
No, that's
None
it.
of them started out knowing the answers. I mean, we just talked about Noah. I mean, you're talking about decades of blood, sweat, tears, frustration, blind faith.
Being
Yes.
made fun of, talked about. Everybody around him was, I guess for better terms now, they're actually poking fun of him. They were, just dogged him out. I
Right.
mean, how would you feel if everybody you knew was like, you're an idiot, you don't know
Right.
what you're doing,
And these were his
you're
friends.
crazy.
I mean, these were
Yes.
people that up until that point, these were friends. And, and that's what I told him about Esther. I love the story of Esther.
Yes.
But we know the ending. So it's easy to look at Esther and be like, oh, it's
Yes.
amazing.
But she was
But
not
when
perfect.
you think about what she went through, I mean, just going into his presence could have gotten her killed.
Yes.
I mean, I can't, like, we see these people and we think, oh, I want to be that person. But when you really look at what some of these people went through to attain that biblical status, that's some rough stuff.
Yes.
But, well, go ahead, Will.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm sorry, I was kind of still stuck on Noah. Something that was kind of going through my head was, not only was he blessed with the knowledge. I mean, God gave him knowledge that nobody had really.
Yes.
And to do something that he didn't know how to do. And I see that in my life too. There's things that I do that I can't explain or even know how I know how to do them. It just works. But he also got that blessing. And y'all may not see it the way I do it, but he got to take his sons with him.
That's what I was just going to say. You stole it from me, Will.
You know what I mean?
He
got a
saved his family. You know what I mean? By
What a-
being faithful.
Yeah, what a blessing. I mean, that's to
Shouldn't
me,
we
that's
all
huge.
want to be that way?
Yes, what have we accomplished in life if we help all these other people and then lose
What
our
if
own
he
family?
built that boat and
Yeah.
had to wave goodbye to all of his kids and his
Yeah,
wife?
he
And-
saves all these other people and loses
Yep.
his own family. His own
I
family
agree.
perishes. But there again, because he was faithful,
Right.
God took care of his family. And that's the thing. When you surrender your life to God, this becomes a generational thing. You can pass down anything to a child, to
Yes.
your kids and to your grandkids and all. What better way and what better thing to pass down than God and his knowledge? I think about what he told Moses and Joshua as they were going into the promised land. He says, always keep my word in your hearts. Always teach it to each generation, so every generation knows me and knows what I did for you. Even all the way up till we get through the New Testament, the Pharisees and everybody else, they was talking about when God brought Moses and all of them through the wilderness. we have to, and I love this about our Bible and about what God has done with His Word, is He has given us examples, because remember, He's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. The same God that helped Noah build the ark, the same God that helped Moses part the Red Sea, the same God that was with Habakkuk, promising everything's going to be fine. I'm still God. I'm still in control. The same God that was with Jonah in the belly of that whale, the same God that was with Job when everybody else was betraying him. He's the same God right now in 2020, a pandemic year, a year where everybody's just thinking, oh, it's the end of the world. And it might be a time of change and a time where God does something major, but He's still in control. And that's the main thing. That's the thing. And then I just want to close this because we are running out of time here, but I do want to close this right here with this psalm. And it comes from Psalm 105. And the thing that I love about this is there it goes kind of right in line with what I was talking about just a second ago, how He is with each and every generation. And here it is. It says, "For the Lord is good, His mercy is everlasting, and His truth endureth to all generations." I mean, that's what you got to love about this all throughout this Bible. God's love and mercy endured, and He was with every single generation, even right now. He's with each and every one of us. Don't think, if you're listening right now, don't think God's left you or forgot about you or don't care about you. Our God, the Bible tells us in Hebrews 13, has never left us nor forsaken us. He's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. And He is with this generation just like He was with Adam and Eve in the garden. Thank you, everyone, for listening today. If you would like to know how to become a born-again child of God, or maybe you just need prayer, maybe you have something in your life and you just need prayer right now, please be sure to comment in the comments below, and we will be sure to get back to you. Thank you again for listening.
Well, everyone, that is the end of our podcast for today. If you enjoyed our podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe and the little bell to be notified when the new podcasts are released. If you'd like to give to our ministry, please go to worship@woodland.com/give, and in the comments, put podcast. If you'd like to mail us a check, you can mail it to 114 Bayview Drive, Phoenix City, Alabama, 36869.